I hit the button.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to back.
Welcome to back. This man almost said welcome back Carter or some mess. And this is why I do the intro.
I was just trying to go fast.
Anyway,
Hello, everyone. Wait a minute.
Right. The crisscross boys, wiggity whack.
Not crisscross.
Oh man!
I did it, and our audience may not know who that is. So anyway, because they're 13. Anyway, hi guys, welcome to On the Back Hash, where we talk about things bad to JR. I'm Cedric, joined with Zach and Will. Chris is on his way back from a field trip, so hopefully he will be back within the next month of episodes before we start talking about other things. But today's episode number 35, we're going to review the WGI Percussion and Winds Championships. WGI concluded their competitive season this past weekend with championships up at Dayton, Ohio, and champions were crowned. So we're going to get into it because we got a lot to talk about, and because there's probably going to be some discussion about some of the stuff that we've seen and heard and all that good stuff. So you guys just ready to get into it?
Let's do this.
Cool. All right. So right off the bat, let's start with Scholastic A. Your bronze medalist was Vanderbilt Catholic with a 93.5. Your silver medalist in Scholastic A was Beaver Creek High School with a 94.8. And then your gold medalist was Iredale High School with their show entitled Made to Measure. Basically, they had a bunch of scissors and sewing machines and all types of lights and all types of cool stuff on the floor. Very, very cool show. Very, very innovative visual show from them. Vanderbilt Catholic also had a pretty cool show, if I remember correctly. The Unsaid, some pretty unique.
Yeah.
Some pretty unique and bold, mature.
It's kind of like the Scholastic version of Rhythm X, but not as deep.
But
it's good.
You're starting to see some of these age groups pull this stuff off, and it's just kind of a scary thought because if they're pulling them off in A class, what's world class going to do to start separating themselves a little bit from a design standpoint, not necessarily because the A class design sets are getting ridiculous. Like if you just look at some of these groups, you're like, that's not A. No way that's A. Perfect example of that is Oak Grove. They did a show called Recess.
Yes.
They did a show called Recess, and so their floor was a big old playground.
Oh,
yes.
And they did. I mean, just the snare solos had a feature on a swing, so they were swinging back and forth. So really cool. They had a kid playing on the playground by himself, and during that song they played "All by Myself" by Celine Dion.
I was so mad.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, no, they are not.
Yeah,
good and well.
It was good.
So very cool. Some very, very cool stuff in Scholastic A division.
Listen, shout out to Noblesville, the Mummy Show.
Okay.
I was texting William. I was like, I was snapping him little snippets and videos. I said, they are not doing this right now. I'm like, it's the way it started out. I was like, oh, okay, like I get it, But then they turned it into rhythm and blues, and then they pull out "Walk Like an Egyptian." I was done. I was like, we are not going to play the Bangles right now. Like this is what we're doing. It was great. I loved it. They got me hyped in my living room by myself.
So, moving on to Independent A, your bronze medalist was North Star Independent with a 91.9. I like their show. I like their floor and set design with the blocks moving up off the floor. That was pretty cool. St. Martin Independent was second with a 94.025. Very cool show called Retrospective. Retrospect. And then your gold medalists, which, I mean, they kind of ran away with the competition all year. Modulation Z with a 96.05 with their show called Survivor. Kind of reading off the WGI website. Performers began the show laying on a grass tarp, looking scared and discouraged. And as the show progressed, the battery ran, hit the ground, and interacted with one another using pole props that glowed blue. So
it was not. It was good. It was good. It was very like. Of course, they played Destiny's Child, which was really cool, and that was kind of just throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
But it gave me some Lord of the Flies vibes. It was good stuff.
Yeah, I love shows that you can make references to, whether it's a book or a movie, without being the book or the movie.
Yes. It was funny at retreat. They came out with a volleyball like Castaway. Mm-hmm. No, Wilson.
So, but some really, really cool stuff throughout that class. Another one that was kind of fun, Canopolis Independent with their show Sledgehammer. I was like, what? Really? But cool show, cool fun show. What A class is about. I'm glad that there are still groups that want to have fun and compete and do all of those things, because the formula is the formula, and you don't want to do that. So then moving on to Wins A, we'll just do all the A's together, and third place in Wins A was Bellevue West High School with a 90.7. Their show was cool. They did the Daytona 500, race car uniforms and floor looked like a track. Really, really cool stuff that they did. Second, your bronze medalist was Valley Christian High School with a 91.65. Looks like their show didn't have a title. Oh, Look Up. That's what it was. So very cool for them. And then your winner, shout out to SCGC, Bob Jones High School. 93.85 with their show The Cloudmakers. Very cool show, very light show. The kids move really well, play really well. I'm surprised that it's stuck in A, to be completely honest with you. I just seen it a couple times. Just the way those kids move and play, I was like, there's no way this is going to stay A. But it did. And it granted them some gold. So congratulations to Bob Jones on the W.
Word.
Moving on to Concert A. We had in third place West Claremont High School with their show This Little Light of Mine. Some pretty cool stuff. They had some lights, LED lights that they're using.
I remember that.
On the chest, and just kind of doing some really cool stuff with that. In second place was East Central High School with a 90.05, doing their show called Elemental.
Wait, go ahead, continue.
You're going to have to turn it down so they can actually hear me.
Oh, my apologies.
And in first place,
ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Bowling Green, Kentucky, your Scholastic Concert A World Finalist, first place winners with a 92.6, Warren East High School.
Let's go. You heard it, folks. This man and those heathen children of his done got the gold.
Yeah. I did not tell them to do this, by the way. That is all on their own fruition. But yes, Warren's High School wins the gold with a 92.6 with their show entitled "When Love Goes Right." It's so weird talking about my own show, but anyway. But yeah, they play some really cool music. Basically, told the story in 6 minutes of somebody falling in love, love at first sight, going on a date, and then getting married, all in 6 minutes. Which is insane, but no, they did it, and so kudos to those guys, and I guess me. But yeah, and then I know we're talking about medalists, but shout out to Noonan High School. I got to meet those guys in Atlanta, and this is their first trip to Worlds and to make finals in their first year ever going. That's huge, and
That's major.
They are young. They are young, and they got some hands, and they will be back next year. Concert is going to be fun next year. Going to be fun. So, all right. So moving on to open class. Okay, in Scholastic Open, your bronze medalist was Brownsburg High School with a 96.3. That's a big number for third place. During their show called The Mystic, that show was kind of chill and cool to watch, put together. They had these little horseshoe lights around the floor that lit up throughout the show. Very, very cool stuff. Union High School takes silver medal for 96.775. So pretty close. With their show called Born of Sand and Fire. And your gold medalist in Scholastic Open class was Clover High School with a 97.863 with their show called Nevermore. So doing a little Edgar Allan Poe and uniforms matched the bill. Those kids played really, really well.
Oh, is this the same Clover that won A class last year?
I would
The
guess so.
Medusa show?
I guess so.
So you're finna tell me.
I mean, goddamn.
I mean,
is that how y'all feel, Clover?
That's fine.
Whatever.
I mean, I guess
Win
if you
one
don't
class,
go,
get
go.
bumped, then win the next class.
As the children would say, go off, sis.
Right.
Yeah. That's hard to do. Win two different titles in two different
Back to back.
Back to back. That's tough. That is tough. So kudos to Clover for doing that.
Heck yeah.
Shout out to a couple other groups. Kamayak out of Washington.
Let's go. I found out how it's Kamiak.
Kamiak. Okay.
I was saying it wrong too because I was saying Kamiak. I was like, man, look, Washington, get it together. Okay?
Between them and Merake or America.
Yeah, all of that.
I'm gonna need y'all to put a pronunciation.
Right. It's too
right
much.
after it.
We need phonetic spelling, please.
Exactly.
But yeah, Kamiak, man, get in that.
Yep. Feel the Rain was their show.
Good show.
So very, very cool things they're doing. Shout out to one of the home team, Ravenwood High School out of Tennessee, SEGC, finishing 10th for 90. Shout out to my boy Garrett at Pace, finishing 11th with their show, Seeing is Being Seen. They always do some really, really cool stuff with them. And then 96 being promoted and making finals. Good for them. We saw a few groups that got promoted that did well in competition. Congratulations, Scholastic Open folks. Independent Open, your bronze medalist with a 95.150 with Freedom Percussion. Good to see them getting back in the loop, especially with this show, the beauty of it all. You've seen a lot of percussion groups go to sensitive route, but they're pulling it off.
Yeah,
they're pulling it off really well. And I'm glad now that people realize you don't have to drum hard for 6 minutes to win or to compete and do well. Impact Percussion, really, really interesting.
That show was kind of brilliant.
Yeah,
if you think about it, because it's basically one of those pictures like you stare at until you see the image, and then at the end they reveal I just now forgot what the word said, but it's what does the word say? Because they move all the props. They're like blue or gray or something like that, and then they turn them around and then they put them all together. Because throughout the whole show, you never see that. If you've only seen it once, you're not going to see words until they pull them all together at the end of the show, and it spells something. Because I was looking, I was like, does that say something? I was like, get off the floor. I said, y'all not finna do this. I said, that's brilliant. I said, this show is good. And their uniform in the back matches, and gave me some old school. Who did that? Rhythm X when they did Gone. They could turn around and it makes them I was like, this is good.
Yeah, the show was called In Plain Sight. Shaped around the concept of change happening and things being hidden in plain sight. Impact made a statement with their loud pink, white, yellow, and blue color palette with 12 bright backdrops in play. The floor is always changing and evolving with the performers. So, pretty cool show. Very thought out. Like, I mean, gosh, these show designs. The moment you think there's something that can't be done or it's been done and can't get any better, somebody figures out. And then your gold medalist in the Independent Open, I think this is kind of a foregone conclusion. They've been dominated all season. Was Marika with a 97.088 with their show Euphoria.
They play.
Yeah, they got some hands.
They play.
We might see them in World next year.
They came out. I said, "Oh,
is that how you feel?"
That's literally all I said. Oh, because I was like, "Ain't no way." I was like, "How are y'all beating Impact?" Oh,
yeah, and I mean, you had some heavy hitters in that class. Sevatos fourth. That show was great. The time that was Q2, very fun show. With the Andy Warhol show, we've seen a lot of Andy Warhol shows.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make it stand out, but they did a really good job. Up to What Goes Around, great show. Vision out of Arizona, Cap City too. So you've seen a lot of the baby brother or baby sister programs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm figuring.
Because I was about to say all of them made finals this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Matrix Open sitting 14th.
Q2.
Cap City 2.
United.
10th.
Cap.
United sitting 7th. QT 6. Sorry, QT 5th. So, but yeah, so good for those guys. Way to work that out. And wins open. You know what? I didn't announce the A class independent group. Sorry about that. So I'm gonna do that real quick.
You did.
No, I didn't. Because it's at the bottom. Vortex. I didn't say Vortex. Well, apparently just score because they didn't put the scores in there. So independent A, third place was wins independent A.
Oh, wins.
Oh,
I was like, we did do independent A.
No, wins independent A. Don't have scores right in front of me. Ethereal Wins was third with their show Why So Blue, with lots of shades of blue in their show. Eva Independent Wins was second with their show Heartbeats, and then your Wins Independent A class winner was Vortex with their show called Set List. So I think they did some pop music in their show with that. So sorry I missed that earlier. Now in Wins Open, you're in Wins Scholastic Open, third place was Dartmouth with their show called Fiber. Very interesting in uniforms. Second, and they scored a 91.85. And second place was Miamisburg with a 93.05 with their show entitled Bounce with tennis balls. Doing a lot of stuff with that. Didn't somebody do a show like that, a drumline show called Bounce was it Avon?
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Avon.
It was a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But I remember it because they bounced on trampolines. and played. They had ball, they had bouncy balls, they had tennis balls, and they bounced on trampolines. I digress. And your Wynn Scholastic Open champion is Westfield High School with a 94.325. And their show was called Falling Through Forever. So, very interesting. Some jazz stuff.
Shout out Davis County, 4th place.
Yeah, Davis County right out of the medal. Listen, going against Dartmouth or any of those guys, it's tough. And
it ain't no joke.
Yeah, but Stormy, see, that show's good. I got to see it a couple of times in our circuit. Mount Juliet finished 6th. There with their show title. That show's kind of cool too. Open class is a tough class in the Wins division.
Mm-hmm.
And independent wins Independent Open. Your third place bronze medalist was Chromium with an 85.4 during the show The Wall. Valhalla wins is second. Your silver medalist with an 85.65 was Voyage to Valhalla. So they're going to go to themselves. I don't know. And then your Wins Independent Open winners was LSM Wins with an 88.2. With their show called See Life Clearly. So,
brilliant show. I don't care what nobody says. That show is brilliant. Did anybody see it?
No, but I saw your Snap story. That's why I'm laughing.
Yes. They built these huge glasses frames. And like they're huge. Because when they pulled it out, I was like, is that a pair of glasses? Because it was like turned at first, and then they turned it. I said, I hate y'all already. And that's how we started.
And the floor was the eye test.
The eye test is the floor.
Oh, I did see that. I did.
Yes, that show was good.
Okay.
They talk and they got the narrative, and they talk about, oh well, this vision is bad, and then you're going to need glasses and blah blah. I said, man, shout out to Four Eyes folk, man. Let's go, cuz. I was like, what y'all talking about? I was like, this show is it.
Yeah. I mean, kind of, man, these guys.
It was good, man. It was good.
So, moving to Concert Open, we had your bronze medalist was Grassfield, who got promoted this year from A class, finishing 3rd. So, shout out to him. With a show called From the Ashes. So, little Firebird Suite was in there with some other stuff. So, kudos to him. Your silver medalist was Penn Trafford. With a 94.05. It's a big gap between them and them. Grassfield also got promoted out of A class in earning silver with their show called The World Unseen. Their marimba players are about that life. And they played like they were about that life on Friday night. It was a pleasure to see live, and I'm glad not only for our benefit, but I'm glad they got bumped because they've been open to me for a few years now, and they kind of needed to get out of there. And then your champions, probably one of my favorite shows of the night for concert class, was Cleveland High School with a 95.150 doing their show called Road to Matheny, and it was a Pat Metheny show, and they did some familiar Pat Metheny stuff, but they also brought out some of his maybe lesser known tunes too, and they just played it well. It was really fun for me to watch. It makes me want to do a Metheny show next year, even though I've done one and it's been a minute and kind of want to do another one. But yeah, shout out to Cleveland. It was really, really good, really, really good show, and they earned it. A lot of good stuff in Concert Open. So I'm going to go ahead and jump and stay with concert class, and we're going to go ahead and do World. So Concert World, in 3rd place was Ayala High School with a 93.4 during a show called Solace at Home. Some really, really, really cool effects in that show. Very open, but very playful. It was a really, really cool Ayala-esque type show. Their concert design is a lot like their marching design as far as like their musical soundscapes and stuff like that. So shout out to Ayala for that. 2nd place was Catawba Ridge with a 94.35 with a show called gosh, I'm going to which is Syzygy.
I said,
Syzygy. So it's basically about like vibes and how you feel with vibes and all of that stuff. And they use some really, really cool effects in their show. Soundscape, beautiful soundscape created at the beginning with I forget what they're called, but it's a metal thing with the spikes. Just lots of really cool moments. Kids played well, very energetic. Me and you talked, Will, like what is Catawba doing to be that close to Fishers at prelims? They showed why. Those kids played well.
Kids move, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you watch their show as a full, man, they just move so well. I was like, this is visually pleasing, and they're not even marching.
Mm-hmm. So shout out to them. And then your concert world class champions with a 96.25 was Fishers High School with their show called All Minds Be Clear. Their concert group could have used that book in a marching setting and probably made finals because they play more notes than a good lot.
It's just.
And I finally saw the split single part that you guys are talking about. It's like, why is that okay?
Like,
can it get promoted to the marching class? Like, I don't.
Wouldn't that be something?
Like, I think I need to be a UD
out of your
arena.
own class.
They just add an extra member that just marches back and forth behind them.
It's like, we're gonna have y'all marching now, but we already. Hey,
what?
But yeah, it's phenomenal. It's what they're doing there. You know, the grasp that they have on that class right now is going to be. You're going to have to come with something pretty special to beat that. I was mad at myself for not running over to meet that guy from Fishers and just say congratulations and excuse me and all that stuff. But yeah, they are something else. So congratulations to them. All the world class groups were good. And I'm not just saying it because I was in it, but I thoroughly enjoyed the concert class this year. Lots of really good playing. Lots of cool concepts and just good stuff happening. So kudos to those guys.
It was interesting for me to see because when I think of concert class, I think about back when I was in the activity, and concert class is like so formal, and like you're gonna play, concert repertoire, and you're gonna wear your dress clothes and stuff. But now, like you've got groups that have basically full on marching shows, but not with battery and stuff, and they've got voiceovers and sounds and lights and this and that. So it's really evolved.
Yeah. Well, I know for me personally, when I'm thinking about the artistry side of things, the big word they keep talking about is the journey, and is your show taking people on a journey? And there's a bunch of different ways to go about doing it. And from us this year, we literally wanted to tell the story. We wanted to do it with the minimalist amount of narration that we could, but do costuming and then a little bit of set design because we do some little props. Yeah, now those props we probably paid a combined $30-$40 for it. Like it ain't like we went to DPG or band shop and ordered those. Like I got a parent that works at Michael's and we got flowers, right? But you're starting to see groups kind of go towards that, Noonan with the chains. You're starting to see that a little bit more, and I think it's cool as long as it doesn't take away from the music, and the concert folks are smart enough to make sure that it doesn't. So shout out to them. All right, moving on to Wins World. Say that 10 times fast. Wins Scholastic World.
World.
Wins Scholastic World. We had in your bronze medalist is Greenfield Central High School with a 91.825 and third. Doing their show Viva. So yeah. lit.
Viva Las Vegas.
That wasn't that bad. I ain't even gonna hate on it. It wasn't that bad.
Cleveland High School going home with a lot of hardware because they were silver medalists in One Scholastic World with a 92.475 during the show Runaway. Runway. So this is a show about the runway model, and paparazzi
Holy
was played,
man.
Just Dance, played
I'm not gonna
Vogue
get
by
over-
Madonna. So
The prop was
really,
huge.
really, really, really cool show with a huge A prop. But it made it work. And then needing to get out the class, which I don't know what class it was. Your gold medalist in Scholastic Wins World was Avon High School, 98.350. Doing their show Solar Wind. Will, I'm not gonna steal your thunder on this one. Will just describe what you saw.
I don't think people understand. I don't think. First of all, the floor by itself is cool. I mean, it's a solar flare, obviously from the sun. It's off on the right side, and there's a solar flare shooting out. But Avon was so smart with it; they were minimalistic with props, and they brought out I don't know how many of these really little tiny fans, these little individual powered fans, and they put streamers and stuff on them, and then they used the fans in different ways to help visually show solar flares from the sun itself. And just first of all, I've already said this, and I mean it. Avon was doing drill in indoor winds that would make a lot of drum corps folks look stupid. I was like, this don't make no sense. First of all, you were cheering. You were cheering.
Not children. Cheering.
Man, the opening set, I said, how dare you rotate these boxes like this? And it's just then they started playing all this. I was like, okay, Avon. This is not fair right now, bro. Cause I was like, it makes you think about it because I felt bad because I get it. And I tell people all the time, man, look, WGI is worse than DCI when it comes to finals because it's the longest day, which is a 3-day pack day. Like you were there for the longest time. So I get it. It is hard to stay till Sunday. And who knows, maybe in the future, wins will end on Saturday with everybody else. I don't know. But it sucks because when you watch it on the live and then camera pans up and there's like nobody in the arena.
Yeah.
And I mean, concert folks get this all the time too. And sometimes A class gets it. Open gets it sometimes. But concert, I was just looking at it. I was just like, that ain't nobody but the concert people themselves. But the wins people themselves and their parents. I was like, ain't nobody else there. And if it is very bare minimum because there are seats everywhere.
Yeah.
But besides that, these kids play and these groups play with the most highest level of I don't even know what. And I'm sitting in here in my head and I saw Avon first in prelims. I said, from that jump, I said, Avon needs to perform at WGI Percussion Finals today. I said, that's ridiculous. I said, I don't know. I know it's just prelims and they ain't theoretically won yet. But that show needs to be seen by the entire percussion world class or whatever, everybody, because the arena is full at Worlds. So that's the kind of show that everybody needed to see in person. And I was like, that's unreal, man. But like I said, it's the same thing with like Cleveland High School. I think the crowd would have went nuts for Cleveland High School. I mean, it's a runway show. It's like, are you kidding me? That's entertainment, man. So these groups, man, that are doing these shows in what's the name group? Who was it? An Open that did like we just got through talking about did the glasses. That stuff's brilliant. So I know we say it on this podcast a lot, but people, man, don't sleep on these other groups, these younger groups, these low tier groups, these other classes. Don't sleep on these color guards. Don't sleep on none of this stuff, man. Because y'all really missing out thinking that world class is all it is. You really think some of these world class just started like? Not all of them started like that. Rhythm X was open.
Mm-hmm.
So understand, man. Put these support in, and I preach the same thing when I talk about the DCI too, man. Go to them open class groups. Y'all better quit playing around with them groups, because a lot of them groups are coming up in finals and smacking some of these world class groups.
What you said.
Keep playing around, and Vanguard Cadets and BDB gonna be in world. It's gonna be like indoor.
Oh God,
These open class groups gonna be in the same class with the world groups.
See, we don't need that.
Keep playing around.
Moving on to wins, independent wins, world independent wins, world
Wins world.
Third place, Horizon wins with an 89.675 with their show Havana Dreams. Yeah, listen, I told you my mind was going to be much today. I warned you.
You did.
Second place was UTR GV wins with a 93.65 with their show You Are My Sunshine.
No.
Oh, no. They played that song. The show title is called Solstice. I just read the first thing that was in quotation marks.
Because I was like, wait a minute, I watched that. I don't remember that being. It's on the floor too. They put Solstice on the floor.
Solstice, but spelled SOULSTICE. The song "You Are My Sunshine" was played in the show.
It was good.
So, and then your winner in independent world wins was Strike wins with a 95.250.
Mm-hmm.
They should have called that. They should have named themselves something different.
Like what?
I don't know.
I mean, I think it's all right.
I mean, yeah, but Strike makes sense for percussion.
But
I don't know. Anyway, you notice they spell Strike and wins with Y.
With Y, just like the percussion.
But that was interesting. But anyway, they want to go for 95. What?
Anyway, I was going to say they can change their name to Articulate.
Yeah, that's a little much. That is the ring that you want. But they went gold for 95.250 with the show called Beyond the Bell.
They got mad.
Yeah, they did because they were second coming out of prelims.
Beating prelims. They came out mad.
So it's like, you need to remember who we are. We are Strike wins. Spread out. So
splatter that can account.
All right, moving on to percussion. Scholastic World. Excuse me. Your bronze medalist with a score called I guess you can call it called. I guess that's not what you do. With a score of 96.738 is Avon High School with their show Delta. I love the mental, cerebral meaning of the show. It made a lot of sense to me. If you like triangles, then this show's for you. If you don't, if you have a fear for triangles, you probably stay far away from this show because it is full of them. Very cool things though. They do a lot of stunts with triangles with bouncing the balls. There was a musical comedian that I think this is where they got the idea from. They would bounce a tennis ball around a triangle and make music with it. And so I think some of those tricks were inspired by that guy. But they do some really, really cool stuff with that show. And it's centered around the song Michael Jackson's Change. And if you're not familiar, the word delta is the Greek word for change. So they do a lot of things with that. So I enjoyed it from a mental standpoint of how they were going to do that. As always, they move extremely well. And they bought it that night. It was good. Second place was Chino Hills for 97.2, performing their show In This Room. I really like the show. I do. Play some Snarky Puppy. But it's just about what happens, after the performance and what it's really like to be a performer and how busy you are outside of, doing all of that good stuff. Very well done show. I really like the show. I thought this was a fresh direction for them to go in a different direction. And I hope they continue to balance that type of stuff out and try some new things. And I hope they don't try to go back to this kind of status quo, because they can win with this type of show. And if the first place group just hadn't have played lights out, they would have won. They would have won. But Ayala High School is a gold medalist with a 97.938 during their show Past to the Future. Sorry, Past to the Present. That show was it was brilliant. It was
ridiculous.
Was really brilliant. All the throwbacks to past shows that they put in, just nuts. Will, I know you got a lot to say or thoughts to say.
I don't know if we got enough time for all that. We might get heated, but
I can give you like 3 or 4 minutes.
Listen. No, it's brilliant, man. I called it from the jump. I was like, this show is just outrageous, man. What they were doing and then how they moved. Like, if you talking about completing the triad, bro, I mean, just the beginning opening statement in general, and the way the kids just dart out from the prop, slide on the ground, and hit their spot. Not just randomly. No, it's a form. They're in their form, hitting their spot, sliding on the floor. I was like, come on, bro. Come on.
No,
that stuff's wild to me.
When they decide they want to do something cool visually, they do something cool visually.
They don't half-ass none of it.
No.
Like, they go all the way out, and it is fantastic. And I was sitting there saying, I was like, look, man, I'm actually impressed and glad Ayala was able to get there and get back to the top and get to doing Ayala things, like without going deep into anything, what all that has happened and things of that nature. For those who know, to me, that is major.
Yeah.
To me,
I agree,
because that shows they are unwilling, relentless, and will, keep moving forward with the education and the teachings of this school. So very kudos and hats off to Ayala.
Yeah, I agree. The first, I watched it before, but when you watch something at home and when you're live watching it, you get a couple of different vibes from it. And just watching it live, and I heard that motif from the Rite of Springs from their Igor Stravinsky's Igor's Revenge show. I was just like, oh, this is a throwback. This is one of those. And then I started to see the things, and then that whole silent drill moment when they're on one side and manipulate all the way over to the upper side, and I was just like, golly.
Because I feel like they were trying to do it, because they got audio in there talking about passing the torch and saying, it was once ours, but now it's yours and stuff. It's like,
yep. So
okay, Ayala.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kudos to them. God, it was such a great show. And like I said, I really enjoyed Tino as well. Avon. Shout out to Vista Murrieta too, finishing 4th.
Oh my gosh!
I was like, this is like mini Broken City right now.
Yeah, it is. Hands.
Just
so well designed too.
Dartmouth finishing 6th was a little surprising, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it wasn't what Dartmouth typically is. To me, it generated excitement, but usually the excitement comes from everybody, and I really thought maybe there was too much focus put on
The drum set player.
The drum set player.
It was very focused. I don't know if there. Sometimes schools groups do that. Maybe a kid's graduating or some kind of purpose or whatever, or maybe they ran off of from last year. You know, he got so much applause and attention last year. Maybe they would try to run with that idea, give him the focal point again. You know, but sometimes, you know, certain things you do can wind up biting you in the end. You know, I still thoroughly enjoyed the show, and I thought it was cool. You know,
I thought it was good too. But I think their circuit championships did not do them any favors, scoring them in that 98. Because when I personally, when I saw that they scored a 98, I was expecting more than I got. And that's not to take away from their performance or anything like that. But
so I was like, they must have went out and laid it.
Exactly, and
that kind of score at a circuit.
It to me, it sounds like, I don't know if they got anybody else in their circuit, but they might have put somebody else a little bit too high. And my expectations was probably a little bit more than it should have been, but I don't know. They'll be back next year. That's you don't see them that far down typically, so I'm sure they're going to come back with a plan. I'm just going to say 2 words and then let whatever's going to happen. Clearbrook. For those of you that are just listening, Will he's shaking because he wants to go ham right now.
I will
not. Man. I'll put you on a timer.
I will.
Give him 60 seconds.
Listen, give it to him.
You don't understand this show, man.
60 seconds. You got it. Go.
Yeah. Clearbrook. Listen, Clearbrook. I've already posted this. They've seen some posts that I made about it. Clearbrook has the most visually pleasant color scheme of all of WGI this year. I ain't gonna say all the time, but this year, you look at that show, it is beautifully. It is beautiful. It is
45 seconds.
Butals. It is all the butals. All the butals. And their soundscape, I don't know if a lot of people, because, man, it's just the way they intricate the water sounds and stuff into that show. Like, really? And you don't need nothing to say anything. And the way they brought the piranha out at the end.
That was cool. That was cool.
And I was like, way to use a moment for the right moment. Because some groups would just bring it out all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like. This is why I keep shouting them out all the time.
Yeah. It was cool. My kids really enjoyed it. They was like, "This is the fish show." I was like,
yeah. I wanted them so bad to bring it out for a retreat.
The anglerfish?
Yeah.
Yeah, they should.
That would be hilarious.
I wanted it up front and personal.
Hold it up.
Bang.
That would have been really cool. Sparkman, shout out to them. The Land of the Sun and Shadows. Really cool textures that they created. Nice, beautiful soundscape with that show and Home Team. And then I got to Pedal High School, Dear Teenage Me. That show was nothing but a ball of emotions. Shout out to Tony Lyman and his partner Saul. I think his name is Saul. This is their last year there. I don't know if you guys knew that. But this is their last year there. And for them to make finals and just this performance, his daughter is in the group. And she's actually the picture that WGI is using on their page for their score and the show. But it was a very emotional show for them. I mean, they left it out there and they got in. Tony put them on the map and kept them there and kind of pushed the game forward. You know, if you remember them, they were the ones that did the big screens in the back.
But I was just about to say that Epic.
I remember that.
That show, I fell in love with it real early. A lot of people, man, it just didn't sit with them. But man, I was for that show every chance I got for that show. And I was gonna say the same thing for this show. That they had the screen on the side for this show for this year, and it had the wood on it, and then the pictures and stuff going on. So I was like,
yeah,
good for Pedal, man. Good for them, because I've been riding for them for a while.
So I just hope whoever takes over that program, does what they need to do to ensure that program continues to grow and go in the right direction that they were going on. So shout out to them. So Scholastic World, fantastic stuff this year. Independent World. Whew. Third.
You might as well
Even though we're going to probably end up. I mean, I can.
No, go ahead.
I mean, whatever. No. I mean,
knock these out. First.
I can knock out. I can knock it out. Vigilantes 15 with an 80.925. They had a penalty, 7-point penalty. I don't know.
Was it thick with the penalty?
Yeah.
7
points.
God.
7 points.
Yeah, because ain't no way you're going to see there an 80 in finals.
No, not in finals. When 13 groups and prelim scored 8 and 97.
So they would have been 14th instead.
Yeah, they would have been. They would have beat Cap City, who was 14th for 87.675.
Wow.
Connexus also had a penalty.
Yeah, I saw that one.
So they scored an 89.4 to finish in 13th. Good season for them. You just hate to see a penalty knock them out of some places.
Yeah.
But very cool show, very cool music, did some tool. Atlanta Quest, Premier Dream, were for 90.25. They come a long way since the Atlanta Regional. So where did it go down? Power Percussion, probably one of the stronger, placement wise, maybe not so much, but this is one of the stronger power programs
I was about to say the show though.
Asylum. Those kids drummed. They played really, really well. So kudos to them finishing 11th. George Mason University finishing 10th with a 91.45 with their show Capsule. Also very cool. Doing some really cool stuff there. Matrix, 9th.
Woo. Boy, oh boy.
9th with a 92.875. We may sit down on Perk Talk one day and just look at this recap.
Yeah.
But wow. The show was cool, very visually entertaining through technology with the screens and things of that nature. I saw it from the back. Actually, I saw it from the side. So I don't know if it was just a bad run. I believe there was a penalty with them too. I don't know how big it was, but wow. Monarch, 93 even in 8th place. I really like this show. I liked it from the first time I saw it. Like the wind, very fluid, very, calming and chill, and just very aesthetically pleasing to both the ear and the eye. United Percussion with a 94.1. The Powers That Be.
That's a good show.
They're going to crack that top 6 at some point.
They just played, bro.
And speaking of 6, Music City Mystique.
Boy,
6th place. With a 94.813 with their show Plastique. Melt Me, Make Me. I thought it was a strong run.
Yeah, I did too.
I really did.
To me, it felt like the best run I've seen from what I have seen of them all season.
Yeah. But on the recap, one of the judges had them 10th.
10th. They had some had them 10th and 9th, I think. Yeah. And some of the captions, I was like, these mugs just did not like this.
No, and it's kind of crazy, but that's the beast of a subjective activity. Infinity cracking a top 5 with a 95.575.
Stuff was good.
With the show called For Myself, it was very beautiful. Tony Lyman put on his Facebook page, if Butter was an indoor show, then Infinity just performed it because that show was so smooth.
Yeah. Like they came out and was like this is it.
Yeah.
That was a true definition of leave it on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 4th place, Broken City with a 95.625. So Infinity almost got
4th.
Almost got 4th.
Because it's crazy because United almost beat Mystique too.
Mm-hmm.
And Mystique almost was sitting 7th. And Infinity was almost sitting 4th. So I said, what?
Yeah. It's a lot of the guard is changing. The guard is changing. So, in Broken City, there's a show called Self. Holy Split Shots, Batman.
Boy,
Just, but
how
they
can
always
you
do.
how can you clean random chaos?
You're right. Well, they find a way to do it every year. So your bronze medalist with a 97.088 was Rhythm X with their show called The Unspoken. They played their butts off. Golly. Baseline for me was the winner. Just everything was clear as day. You could hear all the runs split evenly, just visually appealing. I can't. This is probably one of my more favorite Rhythm X shows that I've seen. Just so good. I think the music effect judge, one of them scored them a 100 in composition and a 99.5 in fulfillment. Like, it was good. It was really, really, really good. Lots of things to unpack with that show. Second place, your silver medalist with a 98.475 was RCC with their show Home. Yeah. And with the teeniest and the tiniest margin of victory,
Not into it.
Pulse wins with a 98.513. We are talking 0.6. 0.06. 0.06. With the show where the streets have no name. You can't. Obviously you can get closer than that, but it's hard to get closer than that. it's hard. RCC did. I feel like they did almost everything they could have done to max out that show. And I think a slight bit of dirt at the beginning, kind of took him out of it. But man, that was probably one of my favorite shows of the year. It was RCC, and I liked Pulse this year. Don't get me wrong, I did like Pulse's show this year. I thought it was very clean and very easy to follow. But Mystique, RCC just has this energy around them when they play that it's infectious.
Out of all of them, RCC stands out the most as individuality on a lot of levels. And I feel like they have the most range to almost literally do what they want.
Yeah.
As far as concept wise.
Yeah. And they're not afraid to do what they want either. No. If they're gonna do what it takes and they'll change whatever they need to do, they can program whatever they want and they can make it work. Because that show was great. That show was great. And Mystique has that too. They can be a chameleon and do a different show every year and stuff like that. And it's just such because of those two groups, or the way that they are. If you don't hit the right show in the right year,
and that's the thing. Because not to say Broken and Pulse don't do different shows in general. I think what it is a lot of people are getting tired of the vibe being the same. Mm-hmm. The show may be different.
It's BD syndrome.
Obviously, it is. The show may be different, but it's giving me the same vibes over and over and over and over. That's what a lot of people are saying, and a lot of people are getting tired of. Yeah. So,
because they know they have the talent to do what they want.
Exactly.
Why do you continue to follow the formula?
Exactly.
And that's why people think, and I'm not saying this is true. I'm not even saying that this is what I think, but that's why you get people who think sometimes like they're just following the formula because they want to win. And I don't think that's the case. People have styles and people, write different stuff, but when you know they can do more and they're not,
and they don't, that's the frustrating
part. Try to go out. That's the frustrating part.
That's the frustrating.
Just to go out on a limb, because you see all of these A class and open class groups with these very, very, unique concepts. Imagine Pulse doing that runway show. You can't tell me they wouldn't.
It would have been one. It would have been a dub. I'm even gonna admit that that's a straight win. With Pulse's mind and them hands and what they would do with something like that, it would have been a dub.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that. When you put that kind of scenario in your head, that's what gets even more frustrating, because you know that if you were to do that kind of show, I know for a fact you would max that out. So why not?
And you're going to get the people who will argue, well, people who do hype shows typically don't win. But the people who are doing the hype shows, it's not that it's a hype show, it's how the hype show is being executed. Last year's Rhythm X show was a hype show. It was, and it almost won. Like it legitimately did. But thinking outside your box, what if, I know Broken City's been on the one word show titles a lot. Why don't we call next year's show Joy? You can still have that type of show that you're doing, but change the temperament of the room with the show, or something like that. Post ventured out a little bit when they did Uninvited, but ever since, that was about it. Every other time, it's been pretty status quo. So, and you got Infinity, who's not scared to do something, because all of those guys, your 5 through 10s are dangerous now, and especially now that Zeke's in at 5 through 10. You got Infinity figuring stuff out. They're going to try things that those top 5 aren't. And if they ever nail one with a good set of hands, somebody's going to be really pissed.
Because me and you had this discussion, because I've been saying it for like years. I said it's been like 6 to 8, maybe even longer years. I said if there was ever a group to break this top 5, it has always been Infinity. And look what happened. I have been saying it, and I have been saying it.
Well, the rest of their line is caught up with the bass line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's like drum corps. I said the same thing. It's like all these top drum corps done slipped up. They done let Crown and Blue Coats and all them get up in the top with them. Now you got all these other groups who used to be top 5 struggling to get back to the top 5. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay. But I'm not mad at it. I'm actually here for it. I wouldn't mind, because I was hoping if it wasn't Infinity, it'd be somebody like Matrix or somebody. But it needs to happen. Yeah. It needs
Matrix
to happen.
Is going to have to. Their front's going to have to play better.
Yeah, it's a lot to everybody.
Yeah.
On what it's going to take, but
yeah. So, any closing thoughts? We may revisit some stuff next week too.
Mm-hmm.
But, just kind of wanted to run down the winners and talk a little bit about some stuff. But we may dive in on recaps on a Perk Talk episode, and then next week just kind of review the season as a whole. Maybe talk about some stuff. I don't know. Maybe we can come up with some superlatives. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Show Will might throw a baby. Shows that make Zach say, "You better work." You better work. So, well, you guys. Also, shout out to the dude that I met at SE championships that hollered at me, man. We did tweet that picture out
Yeah.
So I ain't good for me. But if you're watching this episode, man, thanks for because he's like, hey, aren't you on the back patch guy? I was like, I am. I got excited. I was like,
Chris, who are you? Who are you? Because that's dope,
like,
man. Never be afraid to come say hi.
Yeah.
If you
I
do
had the
recognize
shirt
us.
on. I had the shirt on with the coat, but it was cold there. It was cold.
It looked like it got cold.
I was like, I can't.
Mother Nature was like, y'all need to shut this down.
Yeah.
During semi. I was like, what is happening down there?
And maybe I'll talk a little bit more about my experience, for the week, because that's definitely a thing that I can talk about once I decompress from it. Because we're recording this on a Sunday, and I just got home like 5 hours ago. But just kind of wrap my mind around it. But that is it was very cool, very very cool. So let us know down below what you thought about this weekend. If you went up there, let me know, and let me know who you like to saw while you was up there, and the coolest things that you did. Just talk about all the things that you experienced while you was up there, and who you thought got robbed, and whatever. Some cool stuff. You can watch us or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can also listen to the podcast on Anchor.fm and Spotify. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. All of those things are free to do. It just helps support the group and gets the word out there. So we're going to be kind of slowly transitioning into kind of a little bit of the dead time. So who knows what we'll talk about. We'll talk about a few different things. And as news comes up with DCI coming up, we'll make sure you know about those. But we'll probably have a variety of topics that we talk about. Maybe a couple of interviews, and we'll reach out to a couple of folks and see.
Yeah. Try
to get maybe a couple of DCI folks in before they get heavy in spring training and talk about all those things. So if they have nothing else to say for Zach and Will and Chris, come home, Chris. We miss you. My name is Cedric. This has been episode number 35 of On the Back Cash. Take care of each other, love one another, go to a concert, and all that good stuff. And we are
Dut.
Out. I'm gonna, the slurs and things. All right, we out of here.